Y'all, if you want to hear the story time about me getting finessed from 3K, a new kitchen set, and a Nissan Altima, stay tuned and watch this story time. What's good, y'all? It's your boy D-Lou back at it again with another video. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy Saturday to everyone out there. I hope you guys are taking care of your health, your mental health, physical health, spiritual, financial, whatever you guys got to do to make it work and make it survive out here. So in this video, I kind of want to do a different change in direction for what I did last video, because last video we talked about repent and turning over to Jesus. But this time I kind of want to take a different, change in directions and kind of do something lighter mood and something to like make you guys smile and to provide a little bit of backstory as far as me and my experiences. So for this one, I'm going to bring back story times because I haven't done a story time in ages, and I think it's time for me to deliver and give you guys a story time. So I figured it's probably like 2 or 3 years since I've done this experience, so I want to do a story time on when I was on The Price is Right. Yes, that's right, your boy was on The Price is Right back in 2023 for the spring break edition, and I made it through. And I'm not going to tell y'all what I did because otherwise I reveal it to you guys and you guys will click off, but I'm just like, let me do the story time and spill the tea and give you some insight and be like, hey, these shows are real and you can win money. And hopefully this encourages someone to, like, if you guys want to apply for The Price is Right or for Let's Make a Deal, I can provide you insight on that, like the application process and what it takes to be on the show. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So before we get started, I just wanted to provide a little background and context for the story time so it kind of makes sense. So I say flashback to about November, December, or October or November of 2022. And I was at work on campus in college. This was about my senior year. So my 4th year in college. So I was at work, at the front desk doing what I need to do. And I get a call from my aunt. And I step outside to take the call and answer the phone, and my aunt is just like, hey, you know that I was on The Price is Right, right? And I was like, yeah, my mom mentioned something about you being on The Price is Right, so what about it? She was just like, I was on The Price is Right, and so was your other aunt, and we were on there, and I think you would be a good fit for The Price is Right, so I encourage you to apply. And I was just like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah, no, I'm dead serious. I'm sending you over the application right now. They're doing something like a casting for The Price is Right, and they're looking for extra auditions, auditions and participants for it. So she's like, fill out the application and let me know what you think. So I was like, okay, I'll think about it. Because in my mind, I was just like, I'm not gonna do this. This is all a hoax or something. Who am I to think that I would get selected to be on The Price is Right, So I kind of just looked at it and I was just like, interesting, I might apply, I might not, it just depends. But once I got home and actually thought about it, I think I talked to my dad. My pops was just like, you should apply, you got the good character for it, and you never know what could happen. So I was like, yeah, it won't hurt to apply, and the worst that they could do is say no. So take the chance, take the risk, because you never know what opportunities lie ahead. So I went ahead, I applied and filled out the application and everything. They asked for my information and all that, provided it to them. Sent out the application that night. Cool. So I say fast forward to about end of November, beginning of December. It was finals week, or getting ready for finals week, and I just remember getting a phone call, and it was from one of the producers of The Price is Right. And he was just like, okay, so hey, we got your application, so we would like to do schedule a virtual interview so we can interview you and see if you're a good fit for the show. So give me your email and we'll send you a link. We'll send you a link to the Zoom room so we can interview you. So make sure you have stable connection, dress to impress, all that good stuff, and make sure you bring energy. So I remember just hearing those words and was just thinking about it, and I was like, So this is a different type of interview, like, you know, how they would have for a job interview. So I called people like, you know, my aunt and then my uncle who were on The Price is Right and made it on the TV show. And I was just like, hey, they're asking for an interview, so what did you do for yours? So they kind of gave me the tea and was just like, hey, so what you need for this interview, you need energy. You know, you got to show them that like you want to be here. So bring excitement. You can't be, you know, so stiff, animated. Like, you got to actually show like what you're about, you know, like bring the energy, because that's what they look for in these castings. Bring energy, show that you want to be there, and you know, you got to be loud. You can't be soft or mild tone or, oh, my name is this, oh, my name is that. It's like, no, it's got to be like, hey, my name is Donovan, you know, I'm here, I'm excited to be here, I can't wait, I can't believe I've been selected for The Price is Right. Like, show some energy, show some enthusiasm, like show that you actually want to be there so you can pop and wow on the producers. So they kind of gave me that energy. You know, I kind of rehearsed maybe 2, 3, 4 times before the actual interview, and this is where like my theater skills kicked in from, like, you know, junior year high school, junior year, senior year in high school, because I did theater. So kind of just hyped myself up, and I kind of observed, like, you know, what the energy looked like from The Price is Right. So that's another thing too. Before you get on like one of these TV shows, you want to observe what the energy looks like on these shows. So what the people exude in the audience, you know, what the crowd looks like. Like, you know, you want to study their manners and behaviorisms and like see what type of energy they're exemplifying on the show, so you can kind of mimic and copy it for your benefit, you know? So I remember getting on the Zoom room. So I was meeting the producer, you know, he was just like, you know, hey, welcome, thank you for joining the interview. You know, we're gonna get started in a few minutes. Like, do you consent to it? Yes, you do. And you know, if you're so lucky to get called upon for The Price is Right, you know, we'll contact you and proceed with further steps. So we did that. We did, like, you know, the waivers and everything. And then that's when the interview started, and he was like, hey, if you're interested, hey, if you get selected for The Price is Right, you know, what do you want to do with it? So I answered the question, you know, I was like, hey, if I get selected for The Price is Right, I want to win the money and I want to take home the big time, and obviously, you know, use it to pay off my college tuition, because it's spring break, you know, your boy need money, so stuff like that. So he was like, what happens if you were to win $10,000 or $20,000? I just started, like, you know, like just cheering and giving it my all and best, and that's the energy that they look for. So I just remember doing that, and he was like, okay, I've seen enough, we'll be in touch soon. So did that. Finals happened, and it's like Christmas or like a week or 2 after Christmas, I get a call from the producer, and they're just like, hey, we want you on the show, you know, like you did good on the interview, so we want you on the show. But I think around that time, that's when like ABC conference, like African Black Coalition conference, was happening for my school, for UC Berkeley and like the California state universities and the University of California schools. So I think I was just like, well, I don't know if I could do it anymore, because I got selected to go to this conference, and I think I had RA training because I had to be back up in the Bay by like a specific date. So they were just like, oh, we're sorry, like, you know, I showed the producers your interview, and they were really just stunned, and like, you know, they're just like, we want you on the show, because like, you know, you have the energy that we need. So please find any way that you can make it there, so, you know, you can come on and it could be a good time for you, you know, and it's an experience worthwhile. So I remember just having to contact my boss and let some people, like, you know, the people that I went with for ABC, let them know, be like, hey, I'm gonna be a little bit late to training, and I'm going to be a little bit late to the conference because, you know, family emergency or whatever, you know. So I filled out like the exemption form for that. I got accepted for the exemption, partially because, you know, for RA training, I was a senior, so I kind of knew what the ins and outs of RA life was. So it really wasn't like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And like, you know, it's winter training, you're a senior, so they're not too, you know, too like they're not too like worried about you and like, you know, too in your business. They're just like, hey, he knows what he's doing, he knows the ropes about this RA life, so he's gonna handle his business, and if he just stays on top of it, he's fine, you know. And then with ABC conference, they were just like, okay, so just fly in Saturday morning and, you know, make it to the hotel, and you can check in with us and we'll get you from there. So I remember doing that, and I called the producer back and was just like, hey, guess what? I'm able to go on the show, so let's do this thing. So he was like, perfect, I'll send you the details through email and through text. You feel free to bring like, you know, 1 to 5 people for like a group. that can go with you and, you know, go on to support you, and it could be a good time for you guys. And like, you know, this is college week, so make sure you wear something, you know, that's says your school or something. So something like this, you know, like a quarter zip or a sweatshirt. I wore like a Cal sweatshirt, and as far as like my partner, you know, my group members, I could only think of one other person that I could only imagine doing this experience with, and that was my brother Brandon, you know. So having to do that with him was an experience of a lifetime, because I just remember asking him, I was like, hey bro, I got selected for, you know, to be on the show. I want you to come with me. And he was just like, okay, I gotta take off of work, but let's do this thing. So next thing you know, the day comes. I like, you know, spent the whole week or just Christmas break just watching the show, studying the games, kind of getting a feel of what the games would be, and like knowing prices. So what you want to do for the Price is Right and just any game show, familiarize yourself with prices. Because I remember there was a story with my grandpa, and my grandma told me that he went on the Price is Right back in the day, and he struck out and he didn't know anything. And then afterwards, this guy like that was on set with them, as they were leaving, he was just like, sir, you just need to go down to the store or the mall and just look at stuff. You ain't gotta buy nothing, but you just need to go look at stuff. And then he was just like, you could just go to hell. It just reminded me, I was like, I don't want to look like that or embarrass myself like that on national television, because I'm just like, one, I don't want to be the one that doesn't get out of contestants row, because that would just be a nightmare, and they're like, oh, you don't know nothing, you know? So just familiarize yourself with prices, you know, familiarize yourself with like grocery prices, like, you know, what does like a bag of chips cost, you know, what does energy drinks cost, you know, ice cream, stuff like spam, just like that, you know, stuff like, you know, you typically go to the grocery store and buy, like, you know, stuff like electronics, and just get like a formulated, educated guess. You don't need to be precise on these shows, but just form like a guess, so that way you can just be on top of, like, you know, knowing your prices and not looking like a fuddy-duddy, you know. So the day came. I remember, you know, gave Brandon the rundown. I was like, hey, this is what we gotta wear, you know. They like, you can only wear this and like not really that much else, because since we're on TV, like you can't really wear like other name brand stuff. So just keep it simple, follow the dress code, or you can wear like a Price is Right shirt. I think I had a custom made shirt made for me, but when they were just like, it's college week, so you could just wear a school of your choice, I was just like, let's just rock with our Berkeley sweatshirts. So I remember we woke up at like 7 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock, somewhere around there. And then we were headed out, you know, to Hollywood at the Bob Barker original studio. So it's an all-day thing. So what you want to do is make sure that, like, you know, you eat, get you a good breakfast, get you a good night's sleep before, so you can be fully rested and give it your all on set. And, you know, you're going to be standing out there for a while, because while you get out there, there's going to be like ongoing shows at the studio, you know. So ongoing shows will be at the studio, so you'll probably have to wait along with other contestants and other people out there. And there's a lot of different personalities, so just be friendly, be cordial. Don't be afraid to talk and mix and mingle with other people, because you never know who you'll meet out there and what relationships can last after the set, you know. So I remember we mobbed out there to Hollywood. You know, we found our parking. As we were walking, like, you know, we found where the other contestants were, and they were kind of just like, you know, like, in a way, kind of doing the most, but not really, because they were excited, one, but I just remember we were just like, y'all are doing the extra, like, be chill, just relax, you know? Like, we're not even at the point where we're being like the producers and the executives, so, like, we're literally at the front gate, so just chill, relax, you know? Just vibe out. So it was raining. I think when we pulled up to where like the other contestants were, someone actually won like a car, I believe. But I just remember like it was a showcase, and like they were just like, oh, someone won like a, you know, Honda or some car, you know. So I remember pulling up there, and I was just getting hyped little by little, and I was just like, yo, I can't believe we're here. Like, I never believed in like a million years that I get selected to be on The Price is Right and that this is real, you know. So it was raining. We were standing in line. They called us in the waiting area to where they had like the little concession stands with like t-shirts. You could buy like little snacks and stuff. And you then, before entering the studio, you have to surrender like everything, like as far as like, you know, your wallet, your phone, keys, earphones. Like, you know, you can't bring that stuff into the studio, because, you know, they never know what you're bringing with you. So you have to hand it over and they'll hand it back to you once the showtime is done. So once we did that, they put us over like, you know, outside like outside the recording room, so they could be like, okay, so you guys sit here, wait, and then you guys will be meeting the producers soon. So when you meet the producers, you know, just be yourselves, show that you want to be here, like be hype, give energy, big energy, so they can take you seriously. And like it was like a final, in a way, like a final way of being like, okay, this is the person that we're looking for. This is, you know, like, or they can make some changes around and be like, okay, we want him, we don't want him, we thinking about swapping him out for her, and just stuff like that, you know. So even then you still have to put on a performance. So we did what we needed to do, put on a performance, and just being genuine about like our intentions. They're just like, so what's your name, etc., etc. What's your favorite game? What's your top 3 or 4 favorite games? And what would you do if you were to win money, you know? So I remember like, hey, my name is Donovan Lewis. I'm a senior at the University of California at Berkeley. My top favorite games are the vending machines, Plinko, and Rat Race, and I believe the golf game too. And if I were to win the money, I'm gonna use it to pay off my college tuition because I need it because these student loans, you know? So I remember they interviewed like our partners as well, because I think they're just like, hey, like, you know, you guys aren't contestants, but you're partnered with a contestant, so you could be another contestant for another show. So they were kind of getting familiarized with them. So we were brought into the studio and they sat us down to like, you know, select the areas for filming and everything. We met George Gray, and he kind of gave us a formal welcome, be like, hey, welcome to The Price is Right, you know, liven up, relax, you know, it's going to be a good time, and just be yourselves, you know, like follow what the producers do and give instructions. Like, you know, they play music to get us hype, and then they're like, okay, when we say live, that's when the music and everything is going to start, and they're going to bring out, you know, Drew Carey. So once they started, you know, they did the Here It Comes from Bob Barker Studios in Hollywood, is The Price is Right, and then they called down like, you know, us. And I just remember, you know, like me and Brandon, you know, we was just hyping everything and just clapping and, you know, all that. And then people were looking at me, and I was like, why is everyone looking at me? And then they were like looking over to the right. All you see is like a sign of just like one of the cast members pointing like Donovan Lewis, and then all I hear is George Grace go, Donovan Lewis, come on down, and I'll provide footage for you guys to see, so you know I'm not making this up. Bye. But I just remember I was like, yo, the first one to get called up, that's actually crazy. So just remember doing that, and then 3 others got called down as well, and then that's when they brought out Drew Carey, and you know, it was a pleasure meeting him. He's a really chill guy, you know, good dude altogether. And the first one, like the first prize that they brought out, I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like designer sneakers or something like that. So I just remember he asked me what it was, you know, and I gave my price, and then literally the person right next to me, he bid like $1 above me, because I think he knew that I was on to like my prices. And then the person next to her bid like, you know, $1 above her, and then the other person, she was a little bit off. So he got selected, and he played Plinko, and I think he won up to like $18,000, I believe. $18,000, somewhere around that ballpark right there, playing Plinko. So I remember he won that. So ultimately he left with 18K. So that's really good. So doing that, and then the next person gets called up, and then they bring out like the Apple MacBook, and I bid like $1,600, and then the actual retail price for it was $1,999. So I won that one, and I won a MacBook. So I was big hype, and I'll insert the clip so you guys can see it as well. Won that one, and then, you know, got to shake Drew's hand, you know, talk to him for a little bit, and then the vending machine game happened, and then he was just like, and then George Gray was just like, Donovan, you're gonna get a chance to win up to $10,000 in cash. So I remember just playing the vending machine game. Once I saw like the items in general, I saw like, you know, I saw like a chocolate bar. They had like a 24-hour energy drink, and it has something else. But once I saw the 24-hour energy drink, I was like, these things are expensive, and I'm a college student, so we all know about energy drinks. So I was just like, I'm going with the energy drink no matter what. So they're just like, which one do you choose? I was looking at the crowd, kind of gauge their, you know, opinion, and I was like, I'm going for the energy drink. So pull it, and then, you know, once they went through it one by one, everything was looking good, and then they're just like, all right, how much for each energy drink? And it was like, you know, like $4 or $5 or something like that. But I remember once I heard like the ringing of the bells, next thing Drew was like, congratulations Donovan, you won 10 grand. And I remember I was so big hype, it was crazy. So need I remind you guys, at this point I was just like, I won a MacBook that cost $1,999 and 10 racks right there. And I was just like, hey, look, I don't need to do anything else. I done proved my point here. I got out of contestants row. I won a MacBook. I won 10K. So I'm good. Life is good, you know? So when it came to it's like, oh, well, you got to spin the wheel. I was like, okay, cool. So I remember the girl right in front of me, she spun and she got like 80, I think, or something like that. 80 or 90 or 85. But I think it was 85. So I remember she won 85. So I was like, okay, I gotta somehow one up her some way. So I remember Drew was like, all right, Donovan, it's your turn, buddy. So spun the wheel, and then he was like, do you want to say hi to everyone? And I was like, oh, I want to say hi to, you know, my mom, my dad, all my family and friends, you know, fraternity brothers and sisters. And then I just see the wheel, and it just goes, doot, 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 90. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. I literally just won up there right there, and then the other dudes, he spun over $1, and he was just, and then Drew was just like, well, Donovan, you're going to the showcase round, so you have a chance to win the showcase. So I was like, wait, I done won a MacBook and 10K, and now I'm on the showcase. God is really blessing me, like doing big things for real. So that happened, you know, I got a chance to just relax a little bit and just see the show unfold. The other contestants, they did their thing, and then they spun the wheel, and then the other person, she made it to the showcase. And then I remember when it came to the showcase showdown, I was like, Lord, I'm already good where I am. I ain't gotta win this thing, but just thank you for this experience. So the showcase happened, and pretty much I think because they're just like, well, Donovan won the most, so he's gonna start off with the showcase. So when that happened, you know, they were just like, well, Donovan, you can win, like in the showcase, let's do like $3,000, a refrigerator and kitchen set, and then a Nissan Altima or something like that. So I just remember bidding like $32,500, I think that it was. So I was like, okay, cool. So like, you know, I bid that because I wanted to be precise with my pricing, but don't do that. Don't be like precise, like just get somewhere in the ballpark or that range, but don't be precise where it's like, oh, I need to get the exact price, because that's greedy. That's greedy. And even though like you can win a double showcase, I wouldn't recommend that, because you'll see why. So the other girl, she bid her things for her trips and stuff because it was just trips for her package showcase. So we did that, and then they read her results first. She underbid it, but then when it came to mine, they're like, all right, Donovan, you bid it for $3,000, a kitchen set, and a Nissan Altima, and the actual retail price, I remember it was a long drawn silence. We were just like, and then Drew was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh, I done messed up. And he was like, retail price was $31,500. And I was like, dang, nabbit. So I overbid, y'all. I fumbled it, but I was like, hey, at least I won like 10K and a MacBook, so I was fine regardless. So did that, you know, recording was over, Drew went off. I wanted to get my poster signed, but unfortunately he just left right directly, and then they escorted us out to get our items and stuff. And I just remember just looking at my brother, and I was like, man, I was so close. I could have left with a new car, but God has really blessed me. So we were just big hype on the way home. We were just looking at each other like, he actually came here and won. Like, he was legit the breadwinner of this whole show. So we called my mom, and then my mom was just like, how'd you do it? And then we were just like, you'll never believe it. So we waited, we called her, we were just like, you'll never believe what she's done. We got home, and then we had a, like, my mom and dad, they were waiting, like, so how'd it go? Don't leave us in suspicion. But here's the thing, guys. So realistically, you can't tell anyone about, like, what you did, like, I think 2 to 3 months before you're airing, because we aired it in, well, we recorded it in January, and it was going to air in March 13th, like a week or two before my birthday. So they're just like, you can't speak of this show before it airs, and if you do, you're going to forfeit everything that you have, and you won't get it. So I told them anyways, because obviously they're my folks and they weren't going to tell anyone, but I told them, I was like, so what happened was I won a MacBook and I won 10K, but I fumbled the showcase. And I remember we were just like, they're like, but you literally won everything else, so you're the breadwinner, so you're fine. And then I just remember I was like, so we can't tell anyone, so let's just keep it on a download. But it's like, how do you keep 10K and a MacBook on a download from everyone? And then when it came for like promotion things, they're just like, okay, when you see the promos, hype it up and like get people to watch it. And people saw me, they're just like, why is Donnie on The Price is Right? And I was like, stay tuned and find out. And they're just like, Donnie, what the heck did you do on The Price is Right? I was like, just find out, relax. Tune in on March 13th on that Monday. And they just see me and they're just like, wait, Donnie is low-key kind of viral, like, you know, he on The Price is Right and all that. And he won 10K and a MacBook, so they're just like, bruh, be for real. So everyone up at UC Berkeley, they were just like, so is this real or what? And I was like, yes, this is real. I won the money. You know, they tax you for it, and I won the MacBook, and they tax you for it. So just remember doing that, and like, you know, everyone just knew at Berkeley. They're just like, wait, he actually did that. That's actually crazy. So overall, the experience was definitely worth it, very worthwhile. I encourage you guys, if any of you are interested in like game shows like The Price is Right or Let's Make a Deal, Family Feud, go for it, take your chance, you know, because you live only once, so live life to the fullest, and you never know what you could do. But once you go on these shows, I think it is like, you know, as far as like Let's Make a Deal and The Price is Right, you have to wait 10 years in order to be able to like, you know, to apply for these shows again, because obviously if you keep coming back, that's not going to be fair to everyone else. So I encourage you, if you're interested in like The Price is Right, hopefully my story has impacted you to go apply for it, and hopefully, you know, I wish you the best of luck in your application. Remember to give big energy and keep things on the down low until the show airs, and just do your best and do your research on your stuff, you know? So that's my little story time about The Price is Right. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments below. Any thoughts, opinions, or stuff, or feedback about my story time, or any other story times that you want to see on my channel. I got a whole plethora of story times for you guys, and I'm excited to share it with you all. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video with someone so that we may continue to grow into the people that God wants us to be. And I'll see you guys in the next one. D. Lou signing out.